On the last day of sophomore year, Maya stood in front of her locker, taking down photos and memories from the past months. There was a picture of her winning the state science competition, another of the first Speak Up, Stand Up meeting, and a newspaper clipping about their anti-bullying campaign. Need help? A voice asked. Maya turned to see Sarah holding a box. Thanks, Maya said, adding her photos to the box. A year ago, this simple interaction would have seemed impossible. Now, it felt natural. Sarah picked up a group photo from a recent mentor training session. Remember how scared everyone was at first? Now they're helping other kids stand up to bullies. Maya nodded, thinking about how much had changed. The hallways that once felt like a battlefield were now filled with Speak Up, Stand Up posters. Students who had once been afraid to speak now walked confidently, wearing the group's blue wristbands. During the final assembly, Principal Martinez called Maya to the stage. This year, we've seen a 70% decrease in reported bullying incidents, she announced. And it all started because one student refused to stay silent. Maya looked out at the crowd. In the front row sat her original support group: Jasmine, Kevin, James, and others who had become true friends. Behind them were dozens of new faces, students who had joined their cause over the months. When I started this year, Maya began her speech, I felt alone and afraid. But I learned that speaking up isn't just about finding your own voice. It's about helping others find theirs too. She told them about the 20 schools that had now started their own anti-bullying programs, about the state education department adopting their peer mentoring model, about the technology company funding STEM programs for students who face bullying. But the biggest change, Maya continued, wasn't in the numbers or achievements. It was in here. She pointed to her heart. We learned that everyone has the power to make a difference, even those who once caused harm. After the assembly, Maya's friends gathered in the courtyard for their final lunch together. Sarah joined them, something that no longer surprised anyone. I have news, Sarah said quietly. I'm going to volunteer at a cyberbullying prevention hotline this summer. I want to help other bullies understand they can change. Maya remembered Sarah's first awkward apology months ago. Now she was using her experience to help others. It was the best kind of transformation. That afternoon, Maya visited Ms. Rodriguez's office one last time before summer break. I have something to show you, Ms. Rodriguez said, opening her laptop. Look at all the messages from other school counselors. Your program is changing lives everywhere. Maya read stories of students finding their voice, of bullies reforming, of schools becoming safer. One message caught her eye. It was from Jennifer's new school in California. Their Speak Up, Stand Up chapter is thriving. Ms. Rodriguez smiled. Your best friend is carrying your message across the country. At home that evening, Maya worked on her robot. It wasn't just a medication reminder system anymore. She'd added features to spread positive messages and connect elderly people who felt isolated. Another form of reaching out to those who felt alone. Her grandmother watched her work, just like she had on that difficult day of the science fair. You've come so far, little dragon, she said softly. Maya's phone buzzed with a group message from the anti-bullying team. They were planning summer workshops for new student mentors. Another message showed photos from a middle school that had just started their program. Looking at her robotics trophy and the pile of thank you letters from students she had helped, Maya felt tears in her eyes. These weren't tears of pain like before, but of pride and hope. She opened her diary to write one last entry for the school year. A year ago, I thought being different made me weak. Now I know it makes me strong. A year ago, I was afraid to speak. Now my voice helps others find theirs. A year ago, I was just a girl being bullied. Now I'm part of something bigger than myself. Sometimes the hardest moments in life lead us to our greatest purpose. My story isn't just about overcoming bullying. It's about transforming pain into power, fear into courage, and silence into strength. This isn't the end of my journey. It's just the beginning of a bigger one. Because now I know the truth. One voice can start a whisper, but together, we can create a symphony of change. The state science competition buzzed with energy as hundreds of students set up their projects. Maya carefully arranged her improved Metabot helper, now equipped with new features she'd added after months of work. This time, she wasn't alone. Jasmine, Kevin, and James had come to support her. Your robot looks amazing, Jasmine said, helping Maya adjust the display board. I can't believe it can now send text messages to family members if someone misses their medication. Maya smiled, remembering how different this felt from the school science fair disaster. Her grandmother sat in the audience again, but today she wore a proud smile and a speak up, stand up button on her jacket. The judges approached Maya's table. Taking a deep breath, she began her presentation confidently. My project was inspired by my grandmother and all elderly people who struggle with medication management. But it's also a story of persistence and not giving up, even when things get tough. As Maya demonstrated her robot's features, she noticed several judges nodding approvingly. One of them, Dr. Thompson, seemed particularly interested. This is exceptional work, she said, examining the robot's programming. And you developed this entirely on your own? Yes, Maya replied. Even after my original version was damaged, I didn't give up. I made it better. After the judges moved on, a local news reporter approached Maya. I heard about your anti-bullying campaign, she said. Would you be willing to talk about how you turned a negative experience into something positive? By the end of the day, Maya stood on stage with a first-place trophy in her hands. Cameras flashed as she posed with her robot, but the real surprise came afterward. Dr. Thompson handed Maya her business card. I work with a technology company that sponsors STEM programs in schools. We'd love to have you speak at our Youth Technology Conference next month. Your story combines technical skills with an important message about resilience. The next few weeks were a whirlwind. The local news story about Maya went viral online, this time with positive comments and shares. Schools across the district began reaching out, wanting to start their own Speak Up, Stand Up chapters. Maya and James created a training program for student mentors. Remember, Maya told the new volunteers, sometimes the person who seems strongest is actually hurting the most. We need to create safe spaces where everyone feels heard. One afternoon, while Maya was setting up for a meeting, her phone buzzed with an exciting email. The state education department wanted her to help develop an anti-cyberbullying curriculum for schools. They want student input, Maya explained to Ms. Rodriguez. Real experiences from real people. You've started something remarkable, Ms. Rodriguez said proudly. When you first came to my office, did you ever imagine this? Maya shook her head, thinking about those dark days when she felt so alone. Now she had true friends, a purpose, and a platform to help others. During lunch, Sarah approached Maya's table, something that had become more common lately. My cousin's school loved your presentation, she said. Their principal wants to know if you can train their student council on the anti-bullying program. We can do it together, Maya suggested. You know what it's like from the other side. That perspective could help a lot of people. Sarah's eyes widened with surprise, then filled with tears. You really want me to help? After everything? Change is possible, Maya said. You're proof of that. That evening, Maya worked on her speech for the upcoming technology conference. Her robot sat nearby, its small screen displaying medication reminders. She'd added a new feature, positive messages that appeared with each reminder, inspired by the encouragement she now shared with others. Her phone buzzed with a text from Jennifer. Saw your interview online. My new school wants to start a Speak Up, Stand Up chapter. Can you video chat tomorrow and help us plan? Maya looked at the growing list of schools and organizations requesting her help. Each invitation represented more students who might be spared the pain she had experienced. Each presentation was a chance to turn another bully into an ally, another victim into a voice for change. Her mother knocked on her door. Ready for dinner? Grandma's asking about her favorite little dragon. Maya smiled, saving her speech draft. The frightened girl who had once hidden from bullies was gone. In her place stood someone stronger, someone who had learned that sometimes the worst experiences could lead to the most meaningful changes. The school assembly hall was packed. Maya stood backstage, her heart pounding as she looked at the sea of faces through the curtain. Today was Riverside High's first school-wide assembly about cyberbullying, and she was the main speaker. You got this? James whispered, giving her shoulder a gentle squeeze. The rest of the Speak Up, Stand Up team nodded encouragingly. Principal Martinez stepped up to the microphone. Today, one of our own students will share her story about cyberbullying. Her courage has already inspired many of us to make positive changes in our school. Maya walked to the podium, her hands shaking slightly. In the audience, she spotted Sarah sitting with a smaller group than usual. Many of her former friends now sat with different classmates. As Maya adjusted the microphone, she noticed something unusual. Sarah wasn't smirking or whispering. Instead, she looked troubled. Taking a deep breath, Maya began. 6 months ago, I stood on the same stage for the science fair. That day, I ran away in tears after my project was sabotaged. Today, I'm choosing to stand here and speak up. The hall fell silent as Maya shared her story. She described the fake social media accounts, the cruel messages, and the loneliness she had felt. She explained how the bullying had affected her grades, her confidence, and her love for robotics. But this isn't just my story, Maya continued. Every day, students in this school and others face similar treatment. Some suffer in silence, afraid to speak up. Some transfer schools, like my friend James did. Some, she paused, her voice growing softer, some think about giving up completely. In the audience, several students wiped tears from their eyes. Maya noticed one of Sarah's friends, Emma, leave the hall crying. The thing about cyberbullying is that it follows you everywhere, Maya explained. It's in your phone, your computer, your social media. It makes you feel like you can't escape. But today, I want everyone in this room to know something. You are not alone. After the assembly, Maya was surprised to see Emma waiting outside the hall. Her eyes were red from crying. Can we talk? Emma asked quietly. They found an empty classroom. Emma's words tumbled out between sobs. My little sister. She's being bullied at middle school. Just like what we did to you. Yesterday, I found her trying to delete all her social media because someone made a hate page about her. When you were talking up there, all I could think about was her. Maya listened as Emma shared how being part of the bullying group had made her feel powerful at first, but now she felt ashamed. I didn't think about how it really affected you. I just went along with Sarah because I was afraid of being targeted myself. Later that day, Maya received an unexpected visitor during lunch. It was Sarah, standing alone by her table. Your speech? Sarah began, her usual confidence missing. It made me think about some things. Maya gestured to the empty seat across from her. Sarah sat down, looking uncomfortable. Emma told me about her sister, Sarah continued. And I saw some kids making fun of my cousin online last week. It felt horrible watching it happen to someone I care about. I guess, she paused, struggling with the words, I guess I finally understand how wrong I was. Maya studied Sarah's face, seeing real pain there. It's never too late to change, she said quietly. Sarah pulled out her phone and opened a familiar page, the fake profile that had mocked Maya months ago. With trembling fingers, Sarah deleted it. I'm sorry, she whispered. I know that doesn't fix everything, but I really am sorry. That evening, during the Speak Up, Stand Up meeting, Maya shared what had happened with Sarah. The group discussed how bullies often act from their own insecurities or problems. Maybe we should include a section in our program about reforming bullies, James suggested. Show them they can change too. Maya nodded, thinking about Sarah's transformation. Sometimes the biggest changes came from unexpected places. As she packed up her things after the meeting, Maya's phone buzzed. It was a message from Sarah. My cousin's school needs help with bullying. Would your group consider visiting? Maya smiled as she typed her response. The circle of change was growing wider every day. The annual Riverside High Science Fair was only 2 days away, and Maya sat alone in the school's robotics lab during lunch break. Her hands moved carefully over her project, a small robot designed to help elderly people remember to take their medications. She had worked on it for months, inspired by her grandmother who often forgot her pills. It has to work perfectly, Maya whispered to herself, checking the programming one last time. Despite all the bullying, she had kept working on her robot. It was the one thing that still gave her purpose, even though her grades in other classes had dropped from AS to CS. The lab door opened suddenly. Maya looked up to see Sarah and two of her friends walking in, wearing fake sweet smiles. Just checking out the competition, Sarah said, moving closer to Maya's workbench. Though I guess we can't really call it competition when it's just a robot building another robot. Maya said nothing, carefully putting her project back in its protective case. But as she turned to leave, Lisa accidentally bumped into the table, causing Maya's backpack to fall. Her notebooks scattered across the floor. Oops, Lisa said, giggling. Guess my human errors are showing. Unlike you, robot girl. Maya gathered her things quickly and hurried out. She didn't notice Sarah lingering near her project case, or the small screwdriver in Sarah's hand. That evening, Maya could barely sleep. The science fair was her chance to prove herself, to show everyone that her love for robotics wasn't something to laugh at. She had even invited her grandmother to watch a presentation. The morning of the science fair arrived. The school gym was filled with display tables, nervous students, and excited parents. Maya's mother helped her set up her project, proudly adjusting the display board that explained how the robot worked. Your grandmother will be so proud, Mrs. Chen said, hugging Maya. She's sitting right in the front row. Maya spotted her grandmother waving from the audience. For the first time in weeks, she felt a small spark of happiness. She noticed Sarah's project a few tables away, a simple plant growth experiment. Sarah caught her looking and smirked. The judging began. Maya waited nervously as other students presented their projects. Finally, it was her turn. She stood in front of the judges, took a deep breath, and began her presentation. My project is called Menibot Helper, Maya started confidently. It's designed to help elderly people remember their medications. She pressed the start button to demonstrate how the robot would organize and remind people about their pills. Nothing happened. Maya pressed the button again. The robot remained silent. Her hands started shaking as she checked the connections. Everything looked fine, but the robot wouldn't respond to any commands. Whispers spread through the audience. Maya heard someone make beeping sounds, followed by muffled laughter. She looked at her grandmother's confused face, then at her mother's worried expression. Maybe it needs new batteries, someone called out, causing more laughter. Maya's vision blurred with tears as she tried desperately to make her robot work. She opened the control panel and her heart sank. Several important wires had been cut and reconnected wrongly. This wasn't an accident. Someone had sabotaged her project. I don't understand, Maya stammered. It was working yesterday. She looked up to see Sarah and her friends recording everything on their phones, barely containing their laughter. In that moment, something inside Maya broke. I can't, she whispered, then turned and ran from the gym. She heard her mother calling after her, but she couldn't stop. She ran until she reached the girls' bathroom, locked herself in a stall, and finally let out all the tears she'd been holding back for months. A few minutes later, she heard the bathroom door open and her mother's gentle voice. Maya, sweetheart. Go away, please, Maya sobbed. Not until you tell me what's really going on, Mrs. Chen said firmly. I'm not blind, Maya. I've noticed the changes in you. No more smiles, no more stories about school, grades dropping. This isn't like you. Maya's grandmother's voice joined in. Little dragon, please come out. Tell us what's wrong. Sitting on the cold bathroom floor, listening to the concern in their voices, Maya realized she couldn't keep pretending anymore. The weight of everything, the cyberbullying, the isolation, and now this sabotage, was too heavy to carry alone. With shaking hands, Maya unlocked the stall door. It was time to tell them everything. Maya Chen stood in front of her bedroom mirror, adjusting her dark blue sweater for the 5th time that morning. Her hands trembled slightly as she smoothed down her long black hair. The first day of sophomore year at Riverside High School stretched before her like a long, dark tunnel. This year would be different. Her first year without her best friend Jennifer by her side. Maya, breakfast is ready. Her mother's voice called from downstairs. The 15-year-old girl grabbed her backpack and headed down to the kitchen, where the smell of toast and eggs filled the air. Her mother, Mrs. Chen, was busy packing Maya's lunch while humming a cheerful tune. Did you sleep well? Mrs. Chen asked, noticing the dark circles under her daughter's eyes. Not really, Maya admitted, picking at her scrambled eggs. Her stomach felt like it was tied in knots. Jennifer had moved to California over the summer, leaving Maya to face high school alone. They had promised to stay in touch, but video calls and text messages weren't the same as having your best friend right next to you. The drive to school was quiet. Maya stared out the car window, watching familiar houses and trees pass by. She remembered all the times she and Jennifer had walked these streets together, sharing secrets and laughing about nothing and everything. Now, those memories felt like they belonged to someone else. As Maya walked through the school's main entrance, she immediately noticed Sarah Martinez and her group of friends huddled near the lockers. Sarah, who used to be friendly with Maya and Jennifer, now seemed different. Over the summer, she had become one of the most popular girls in school. Her perfectly styled hair and designer clothes made Maya feel plain in comparison. Sarah caught Maya's eye and whispered something to her friends. They all giggled, looking in Maya's direction. Maya quickly turned away, her cheeks burning. She hurried to her locker, fumbling with the combination lock twice before getting it open. "Hey, Maya," a voice called out. It was David, a boy from her advanced math class. "How was your summer?" Before Maya could answer, Sarah walked past with her friends. "Oh, look," Sarah said loudly enough for everyone to hear. "The robot girl is back. Did you spend all summer programming your friends because you don't have any real ones?" More laughter echoed through the hallway. Maya's love for robotics had once been something she was proud of. She'd even won the science fair last year. Now, Sarah was turning it into something to be ashamed of. Maya's first few classes passed in a blur. She chose seats at the back of each classroom, trying to make herself as invisible as possible. During lunch, she found an empty table in the corner of the cafeteria. As she opened her lunch bag, she noticed Sarah and her friends at a nearby table, occasionally dancing her way in whispering. Maya pulled out her phone, hoping to find a message from Jennifer. There was nothing new. She opened their chat history and reread their last conversation from 3 days ago. Jennifer seemed so happy in her new school, making new friends already. Maya felt a pang of jealousy, immediately followed by guilt for feeling that way about her best friend's happiness. The afternoon classes were no better. In chemistry, their teacher assigned lab partners for the semester. Maya's heart sank when she was paired with Lisa, one of Sarah's closest friends. Lisa made a show of rolling her eyes and moving her chair as far away from Maya as possible. "Don't worry," Lisa said with fake sweetness. "I'll do all the talking during presentations. We wouldn't want you to malfunction like one of your robots." By the time the final bell rang, Maya felt exhausted. As she walked to her mother's car, she heard Sarah call out, "Bye-bye, robot girl. Don't forget to charge your batteries tonight." Maya slid into the passenger seat, fighting back tears. "How was your first day?" her mother asked cheerfully. "Fine." Maya lied, staring out the window. She didn't want her mother to worry. Besides, what could she say? That her former friend was turning everyone against her? That she felt more alone than she ever had before? That night, Maya lay in bed, staring at her ceiling. The robot she had built for last year's science fair sat on her desk, its metallic surface gleaming in the moonlight. Once, it had represented her dreams and ambitions. Now, it felt like a symbol of everything that made her different, everything that made her a target. Tomorrow would be another day at Riverside High, and Maya had no idea how she would get through it. All she knew was that this was her new normal, and she would have to find a way to survive it. 3 weeks into the school year, Maya sat at her desk, working on her homework when her phone buzzed. She reached for it, hoping it might be Jennifer. Instead, her heart stopped. Someone had tagged her in a social media post. The screen showed a badly edited photo of her face placed on a robot's body. The caption read, "Breaking news. Scientists discover first robot trying to pass as human at Riverside High." The post already had dozens of likes and cruel comments. Maya recognized the username, Popular Queen 2024. It had to be Sarah. Maya's hands shook as she scrolled through the comments. No wonder she's so weird. Beep boop. Maya needs an upgrade. Does she even have real feelings? Tears blurred her vision as she quickly turned off her phone. But 10 minutes later, curiosity forced her to look again. The post had spread to more social media platforms. Someone had even created a fake profile pretending to be her, with the name Maya_Therabot, and a bio that mocked her Chinese heritage and love for science. The next morning, Maya almost convinced her mother she was too sick for school, but Mrs. Chen, noticing nothing obviously wrong, insisted she go. "You've never missed a day of school, Maya. Your education is important." If only her mother knew what was waiting for her at school. As Maya walked through the hallway, several students held up their phones, pretending to take robot scanning pictures of her. Others made mechanical noises as she passed. Sarah and her friends stood by their lockers, watching and laughing. In math class, Maya's phone kept buzzing with notifications. Anonymous messages flooded her social media. Go back to your robot factory. Does your mom know she adopted a machine? No one wants to be friends with a robot freak. During lunch, Maya hid in the library, her sandwich untouched. She tried blocking the fake accounts, but new ones kept appearing. Someone had even edited her science fair presentation video, adding robot sound effects and posting it online. Lisa, her chemistry partner, moved her chair even further away during class. I heard robots can malfunction when they get wet, she announced loudly. Better be careful with these chemicals. After school, Maya walked home instead of taking the bus. She needed time to think. Her phone buzzed again. This time it was a group chat she didn't recognize. Someone had added her just to kick her out immediately, causing a stream of laughing emoji reactions. That evening, Maya sat at her desk, staring at her robotics project. She had been working on it for months, planning to enter it in this year's science fair. Now she wasn't so sure. The project that once brought her joy felt like a target on her back. She opened her laptop to work on her chemistry homework, only to find more cruel messages waiting. Someone had found her email address and signed her up for dozens of robot-building websites and artificial intelligence newsletters. Maya's grades were starting to slip. She couldn't focus on her studies with her phone constantly buzzing with notifications. Even after silencing it, she couldn't stop thinking about what new horrible messages might be waiting. Later that night, Maya heard a gentle knock on her door. Her mother entered, carrying a cup of hot chocolate. Maya, sweetheart, you've been very quiet lately, Mrs. Chen said, placing the cup on Maya's desk. Is everything okay at school? Maya forced a smile. Just busy with homework, Mom. Mrs. Chen touched Maya's shoulder gently. You know you can tell me anything, right? Maya nodded, but kept her eyes on her textbook. How could she explain what was happening? How could she tell her mother that the internet had become a weapon against her? That her classmates had turned her passion for robotics into something ugly? That every notification sound made her heart race with fear? After her mother left, Maya opened her desk drawer and looked at the photo of her and Jennifer from last year's science fair. They were both smiling, holding up their first-place trophy. That felt like a lifetime ago now. Maya's phone buzzed again. This time, it was actually Jennifer. Hey, sorry I haven't texted much. Super busy with new school stuff. Hope everything's great there. Maya stared at the message for a long time before replying with a simple, all good here. She couldn't bring herself to tell even her best friend about what was happening. The truth felt too painful to share, and Jennifer seemed so happy in her new life. As Maya got ready for bed, she wondered how much worse things could get. Little did she know, this was just the beginning of her digital nightmare. Maya sat in the school counselor's office the next morning, staring at her hands. Her mother sat next to her, holding a folder full of screenshots from the cruel social media posts. After Maya's breakdown at the science fair, she had finally shown her parents everything: the fake profiles, the mean messages, and all the cyberbullying she had endured. Miss Rodriguez, the school counselor, looked through the evidence with a serious expression. Maya, why didn't you come to me sooner? I was embarrassed, Maya whispered, and scared it would make things worse. Ms. Rodriguez leaned forward in her chair. What happened to your project wasn't just bullying, it was destruction of property. We take that very seriously. Maya's mother squeezed her daughter's hand. We want this to stop, Mrs. Chen said firmly. My daughter shouldn't be afraid to come to school. And she won't be, Ms. Rodriguez assured them. She opened her desk drawer and pulled out a flyer. Maya, we have a support group that meets every Wednesday after school. Would you be interested in joining? Maya looked at the flyer. Stand strong. Student Support Circle was printed at the top. You're not alone in this, Ms. Rodriguez continued. There are other students who understand exactly what you're going through. Later that day, Sarah and her friends were called to the principal's office. Maya saw them walking down the hallway, no longer looking so confident. A detailed investigation of the science fair incident had begun, with several students coming forward as witnesses who had seen Sarah near Maya's project before the presentation. When Wednesday arrived, Maya nervously walked into the classroom where the support group met. 6 other students sat in a circle of chairs. A tall girl with curly hair smiled and waved Maya over. I'm Jasmine, she said as Maya sat down. First time? Maya nodded. Me too, said a boy across the circle. I'm Kevin. They cyberbullied me because I like theater instead of sports. One by one, the students shared their stories. A girl named Rachel talked about being bullied for her weight. Another boy, Marcus, described how bullies had spread rumors about him online. Each story made Maya feel less alone. Ms. Rodriguez, who led the group, taught them different ways to handle bullying. They practiced assertiveness techniques, role-playing how to respond to mean comments. They learned about documenting evidence and blocking negative social media accounts. Remember, Ms. Rodriguez said, asking for help isn't weak, it's brave. After the meeting, Jasmine caught up with Maya in the hallway. Hey, want to sit together at lunch tomorrow? A bunch of us usually meet at the table near the window. For the first time in weeks, Maya felt a spark of hope. The next day, she joined Jasmine's lunch table. The group talked about normal things: movies, music, homework. No one made robot jokes or mocked her interests. When Maya mentioned her love for robotics, Kevin's eyes lit up. Really? That's so cool. Could you help me with my computer science homework sometime? Word spread through the school about Sarah's suspension for sabotaging Maya's project. Many students who had joined in the bullying now looked ashamed. Some even apologized to Maya. During the next support group meeting, Maya finally found the courage to share her full story. Her voice shook at first, but grew stronger as she spoke. When she finished, Rachel stood up and hugged her. "You're not a robot," Rachel said. "You're one of the strongest people I know." At home that evening, Maya worked on fixing her damaged robot. Her grandmother sat nearby, sorting her pills into the daily organizer that had inspired Maya's project. "Little dragon," her grandmother said softly, using her special nickname for Maya, "I'm proud of you for speaking up." Maya looked up from her work. "I was scared for so long, Nai, but now, I don't feel so scared anymore." Her phone buzzed, a message from Jasmine about meeting early tomorrow to study for their history test. Maya smiled as she replied. The phone that had once been a source of fear was becoming a connection to real friends. Ms. Rodriguez's words echoed in her mind. "Your voice is your power." Maya was finally learning to use hers, not just for herself, but maybe someday for others who felt as alone as she once did. She looked at her robot, now almost repaired. Like her, it just needed some care and support to work properly again. Maya realized she too was healing, one day at a time, finding strength she never knew she had. 2 weeks after joining the support group, Maya noticed something different at school. A small sixth-grade girl was crying in the hallway, surrounded by a group of laughing students. Without hesitation, Maya walked over. "Hey, what's going on here?" she asked firmly, using the confident voice she had practiced in group sessions. The laughing students quickly scattered. The young girl, Amy, wiped her eyes and explained that others were making fun of her hearing aid. Maya's heart ached, remembering her own experiences. "Come with me," Maya said gently. As they walked to Ms. Rodriguez's office, Maya shared a bit of her own story. Amy's eyes widened with recognition. "You're the robot girl," she exclaimed. "I heard about what happened at the science fair." Maya smiled. "That's what they called me. But now I'm just Maya, and I'm learning that being different isn't something to be ashamed of." During lunch that day, Maya sat with her new friends when Kevin rushed over with exciting news. "Maya, you won't believe what just happened. Remember that article I wrote for the school newspaper about your science fair incident?" Maya nodded. Kevin had interviewed her last week about her experience with bullying. "It went viral," he continued. "Other schools are sharing it online. People are talking about starting their own support groups." Jasmine pulled out her phone and showed Maya the shares and positive comments. This time, the online attention felt different, supportive instead of cruel. Later that afternoon, a tall boy named James caught up with Maya after class. He seemed nervous. "I read the article," he said. I know what it's like. They cyberbullied me at my old school because I'm gay. I had to transfer here to escape it." Maya listened as James shared his story. When he finished, an idea sparked in her mind. "What if we did something about it?" she suggested. "Something bigger than just the support group." That evening, Maya, James, and several others from the support group gathered in the library. Together, They brainstormed ideas for an anti-bullying campaign. We could call it Speak Up, Stand Up, James suggested, sketching a logo on his notebook. And we could use technology for good instead of harm, Maya added, thinking about her robotic skills. Maybe create a positive social media campaign. The next day, they presented their idea to Ms. Rodriguez and the principal. To their surprise, both were extremely supportive. We've been wanting to strengthen our anti-bullying program, the principal said. Who better to lead it than students who understand the issue firsthand? Within a week, Speak Up, Stand Up posters appeared throughout the school. Maya and James organized their first meeting, nervous that no one would show up. They were wrong. The classroom was packed. Students Maya had never spoken to shared their stories. Even some former bullies came, admitting they wanted to change. During one meeting, a 7th grade boy raised his hand. My little sister is being bullied at her elementary school, he said. Could you guys maybe talk to her class? More requests followed. Other grades, other schools. People wanted to hear their message. Maya found herself standing in front of classrooms, sharing her story. Each time she spoke, it became easier. One afternoon, Maya was working on a presentation when Amy, the girl with the hearing aid, appeared at her desk. Maya, guess what? Amy beamed. Today, when someone made fun of my hearing aid, 3 girls stood up for me. They said they learned from your story that being a silent bystander is like being part of the problem. Maya felt warmth spread through her chest. The pain she had endured was turning into something positive, helping others find their voice. That night, as Maya updated the Speak Up, Stand Up social media page, she received a message from Jennifer, her old best friend. I just read Kevin's article, Jennifer wrote. Maya, I'm so sorry I wasn't there for you. But I'm so proud of what you're doing now. You're helping so many people. Maya looked at her repaired robot, still sitting on her desk. Like her project that was designed to help others, she too had found a way to turn her passion into something meaningful. A notification popped up, another request from a nearby school asking if the Speak Up, Stand Up team could visit. Maya smiled as she typed her response. Her story wasn't just her own anymore. It had become a ripple of change, spreading hope to others who felt alone.